Being the consummate team guy you were, where were you in GC at that point? You were like out of the top 10?
Out of the top 10, but that day actually I think was my best form of the whole Tour de France. Was that day. I had fabulous legs, and so right away Lance came on the radio.
You do have good legs.
Yeah, they weren't bad that day. So right away.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we're like 15 minutes from the top of the climb, and I hear Lance get on the radio, and he's like, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble." And so as soon as he says I'm in trouble, I ride straight up to his side, and I start riding out in the wind, so it gives him a little bit more of a draft, and then slowly the group just starts pulling away from us. And we're sitting probably 25, 30 guys back from the front, and the group just starts kind of slowly pulling away. And so Yanni and I are just pacing them the whole way up the climb, and Yanni and I do the next descent, we do the next climb, and then at the top of the next climb, he gets caught up in another crash. And so as he gets caught up in that crash, he just tells me, "Horner, just go with the group, and Yanni, you stay with me." So the group that was with us, we were probably about another 20 guys or 25 that was together with us. So I just stayed on the back of them for like 5 miles, and when we hit the last climb, then I just went solo from the bottom to the top on the last climb. And that ended up almost making the tour harder for me in general, because now if I would have just sat up there, we would have given away the team classification right away, because we would have lost team classification. I would have lost another 6 minutes there or something like that. And instead, by going hard, we stayed in the team classification that day.
What did it mean? I mean, obviously top 10 Tour de France. I mean, you'd like to win it. I would think you'd want to win it. You'd also think you'd want to get a jersey someday.
Yes.
Because you're a hell of a climber. But what did it mean when you got to Champs-Élysées this year and you had it locked up at top 10 in the Tour de France?
Yeah, it was fabulous. I mean, I'd like to do it in a little bit different style, a little bit, because we had a lot of stress on the team. What a lot of people didn't understand is we went into there with the idea that Lance was going to win the Tour. And if he wasn't going to win, he was going to give a really good run for the money. And if you saw the kind of form, I mean, the year before he finished third on the podium. And so if you saw the form that he had, we went out 3 days before the Tour started, we went out and did the cobblestone day. And if you saw his form and how fast he was going on those cobblestones, you would think, wow, he's got great form, and he does have a good shot at winning the Tour. And so what had happened this year is that it was really hard to enjoy a top 10, because the stress in the team was so big after the letdown when he crashed. The stress, now the directors are like, oh, what are we going to do? We need some results here. And so every day they're just fighting for scraps, and instead of just being calm and relaxed and letting it go, they're trying to motivate us as much as they can every day, whether it's positive motivation or negative. They're doing whatever they can to get the team to win stages and win the team classification. Hopefully get Levi, who was sitting 7th on GC, to try to get him on the podium and stuff. And so we had a lot of objectives. I mean, my job literally at the start of each stage was help cover moves at the start of the race, which is incredibly difficult for a guy my size, because I'm 140 pounds at the Tour, and I'm covering guys that are 170 pounds on the flats. And when you're covering guys on the hills, I can cover those guys with no effort at all. They're like, yeah, I'll cover those 20 moves, no problem. That guy's 170 pounds, no problem. But on the flats, when you're covering a guy that's 170 pounds, he's putting out 1,200 watts when he's attacking. I'm putting out 900 watts. And so he's automatically got a gap on me that I got to close. And so luckily we had Paulinho and Dimitri and Popo, who were doing a great job, and Gregory Rask, who were doing a great job covering. Those guys would cover 10, 15 attacks, and then I'd cover 5. But those 5 were 100% maximum, everything I got to just help out the team to cover those attacks. And then, so I was doing that at the beginning. Then I'm looking after Levi and Lance throughout the middle. And then at the finish, they're coming up to me and they're going, well, now you got to do the climb too. And so, you know, and at this level, you don't do the beginning, the middle, and the end. I mean, these guys, you look at Alberto, you look at Andy Schleck, and those guys do the finish. That's it. They do the last 15 miles tops, you know. Maybe they got to go the second to last climb a little bit hard, but they're not maximum. They're really only doing the last climb hard. And I was stuck doing beginning, middle, and end. And so it was
but you're Chris Horner.
Well, at one point in time during the race, I could ride my bike pretty decent, but I was getting a muscle tear in my calf. And so I couldn't walk from the bedroom to the restaurant without walking with my foot sideways, because when you walk, you bend your toes, your foot comes up, and so it puts more pressure on the calf muscle where the tear was. And I can ride the bike okay because your toes are pointed down, so you have less less pull on that calf muscle. But when you're walking, it was next to impossible to walk normal because of the tear I had in the calf muscle there. But that had happened just before the second rest day, and then luckily we got to the rest day, it recovered a little bit, and then it got inflamed up again as we started doing the tourmalet stages and stuff.
Cobblestones belong?
No, I don't think so. It was an exciting day though. The first stage was boring in the tour. The second stage, of course, with all the crashes, was exciting. As we were coming in, we were doing the Liège-Bastogne-Liège famous climbs in the middle of that race. And as we were going down one of the descents, which all you guys know where all the crashes were happening, but maybe you don't know how the crashes were. Literally, we come down a descent, and I'm going over maybe top 10, just about in that position, and I got Frank Schleck next to me, and Frank's looking over at me. He's like, "Hey, Horner, take it easy on the descent." Man, I'm almost 40. Come on. It's not going to be me pushing it on the descent, okay? And so Levi and I were riding side by side now as the descent starts, and we're both hitting the brakes. And Levi's like me; he's real cautious on the descent. And there's a time there's a time when you gotta let caution just fly. But we're still a little ways away from the finish at this point, but close enough to where you gotta be a little careful. And so Levi and I are going a little bit slower, and as we're slowing down, literally like the riders are just keep passing us on each side, and because the road's just wide enough where a few guys can pass on each side. And so guys are just passing us all the way down. We get about halfway down where you're getting underneath the trees, and then bikes are just crashing everywhere. I mean, you got bikes off in the bushes over there, you got riders sliding off there, you got more bikes, and usually when we crash, it's just a big pile of bodies and bikes. And here it's just the opposite. It's like a bomb exploded, everybody's bikes and bodies flew in a different direction, and they're just littered all over the place. And at one point in time, I hear Levi go down, and he's right on the side of me, like like a handlebar where my hip is, and I just hear him go, "Oh!" and he's down. And then I'm like, okay, it's coming. I'm going to get hit from behind, because I can tell I'm slowing down where I'm not going to crash into the people that have crashed, because they're literally sliding at almost the same speed that I'm going. And so as they're sliding, I'm braking, and as they're slowing down, I'm slowing down with them. But at one point in time, I got a bike slides past me on the right, and another bike slides past me on the left, and I'm like, I'm a goner, I'm for sure. Every time when you're racing, you can't imagine how many times you get crashed just from getting hit from behind. Like literally, a lot of times a big crash happens in front of you, you run into the pile, you flip over the pile. But a lot of times, you see the crash in front, and you're like, "Oh, I got it, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna stop," and then some guy hits you from behind, and then you're on the ground. And so the whole time I'm braking, I'm like, and it's literally like, I'm braking for the length of all the way out to the stoplight out there, to slowing down as people are sliding that far. People are sliding 300 meters. I mean, it's crazy. And so I get the bike under control. I didn't crash. I'm ecstatic. I'm like, I didn't crash. So I finally get to where all the bodies in the bike finally quit sliding. And so I clip out, and I just weave my way through. Literally, like I'm weaving through, not just little like this, going through the crash. And I'm like this, trying to find little holes and stuff. And so I get through, and I see Lance, and finally I get far enough down the hill where I see Lance, and Lance he's up in the dirt on the left side of the road, and he's got his bike up, but he's not checking out his bike. He's checking himself out, and he's just like this, and I get up next to him, I'm like, "Dude, we gotta go." So literally, I hop off my bike, throw it on the ground, grab his bike, spin the wheel, throw the chain on, correct the brakes. I'm like, "Let's go." So he jumps on.
Wait a minute. Sorry, I watched him cyclocross race this year. He dropped his chain. He was looking for the team car. I'm not kidding. He's like looking at the bike, looking for help. It's like, dude, you got to fix it yourself.
It's true. You do. You literally, when you got Lance on the team, and that's what Lance is waiting for. Lance is waiting for, he's waiting, where's my mechanic?
Where's my people?
Right, the car is parked 500 meters up the hill where the first guy went down. And so we get going, and it's just Lance and I, we get going, and we go around this left bend, and everybody that passed us that didn't crashed in the next one. Literally, another 30 guys down again. And this time you got the TV, motorcycle camera down, everything. Everybody's down. And so we get through that, we drop down the hill, and just to top it off, as you get to the bottom of the hill, it turns into cobblestones. And so you got to ride up this 500-meter stretch of cobbles, after you just went through that. So we get up through the cobbles, and now we're in a group of about 40 or so, but we don't know where the leaders are. We don't know where Alberto is. We don't know where Schleck brothers are. We don't know where the Sky Team is. None of those guys. Wiggins, none of those guys. We don't know where anybody's at. The radios are going crazy. Everyone's yelling in the radios, do this, do that. No, everyone's up there. Keep going. Ride hard. Stop. Wait. Where's Cody? He's back there. Wait for Levi. No, Levi's in front. I mean, literally, like, pure chaos in the radios. Nothing is correct. So finally, I just get on the front and I start riding with Gregory Rass. Some of the Stana guys start riding. And because we got Alberto in our group too, so we finally figure out where he's at. And so we start doing some tempo on the front, and next thing you know, Alberto pulls his guys off the front. So I was like, well, if Alberto doesn't need to work, we don't need to work. So we pulled off the front, and we went from like total chaos to just absolutely calmness, because the guys in the front, as you know, stopped racing, so then we didn't have to chase hard, and then the Schleck brothers were in the back still chasing like crazy. And so it was a strange stage. I don't agree with it. I think they just should have raced full gas all the way to the finish. I thought it was ridiculous, because the whole time when the crash occurred going down the descent, when we're crashing down the descent, it's not because someone was being careful and crashed. It's because someone was trying to go so fast that it would cause a crash behind, but they would be able to stay upright and they could get away there. So they were really racing. It's a way to race. You race and hope that you don't crash and someone else does. And so there's certainly times when we're not racing and there's a big crash and everyone can wait. But at that point in time, we were fully racing. And I think once the race is on, it's on. And so I was really more upset that they stopped racing, because I thought we would have gained more out of that. And you look at the next day when we started the cobblestone day, it was Frank Schleck who crashed. Held up all of us. That's the only reason why Lance missed a split and we missed a split, because I entered that cobblestone section, I was in the top 25, and so I'd never ridden cobblestones like Paris-Roubaix cobblestones. And when people say, oh, well, have you done Flanders? I've done Flanders before, I've done Kermis's on cobbles in my whole career. So I've ridden Belgium cobblestones, but Flanders, or the Roubaix is completely different than Flanders. It's rocks, it's not cobblestones. They're just dropping rocks. And so you know, all year I'm being told, Chris, man, you gotta stay focused for these you know, since it's announced that you're going over the Paris-Roubaix cobblestones, the team's like, Chris, you gotta stay focused for that. You gotta stay focused for that. You know, you're gonna lose a lot of time that day. And I'm like, relax, I'll get through the cobblestones. And so I'm entering the cobblestones top 25, and then Frank Schleck crashes, holds us all up. And there's literally like, Lance makes it through, Popo makes it through, and then a lot of the favorites were up there. But Andy Schleck was up there, and he didn't bother waiting that day. And so it was like, we waited the day before for you, but now you're not waiting for us? And so later, when he dropped his chain, and everyone was complaining that Alberto didn't win, I'm like, well, I didn't see you waiting for Alberto on the cobblestone day, so why would he wait for you here? And on the cobblestone day, it was his brother that caused us all to miss the split. And so I had no problems with that.
So you like radios. Do you want to know what's going on?
Yes, I like the radios. I don't see any problems with it. And to give you one good example, I was doing the Tour de France with Lotto, and I was coming back through the caravan, and I'm just getting to the back of the group, and this guy swerves hard left, he overlaps my wheel, and I crashed. And when I crashed, in France, a lot of times they have these really deep grass gutters. They're literally 4 feet deep. Like, you fall in them, and when you're down there, they'll never see you. And also when you have a mechanical or flat, it's known that you stop on the right side of the road. Now, of course, I didn't stop, I crashed. And so I'm in the left side in the gutter. I'm tangled up, my feet didn't come out of the pedal, so I'm tangled up with my bike on top of me. And I grab, the first thing I do, even before trying to get out of the gutter, is I grab the radio and say, I crashed, I'm on the left side of the road in the gutter. And so my car pulls over the left side, they find me, I switch bikes, I'm back in the race. And without the radios, I'm telling you, the whole race could pass you by without the radios. The whole race. You would never even, they might not ever even see you. I mean, I find it, first off, it's more interesting to have the radios because you know what's going on, but as a safety part, it's an absolute necessity to keep them. They're not going to go away, though. I guarantee you there's no way they're taking the radios.
Yeah, because you guys will just sit down at the start.
Yeah.
Not going to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the riders are being, like the riders are in Europe, they're not organized and they're not professional, so they're allowing the UCI to get away with a little bit, but eventually the riders will say, okay, we've had enough of you guys playing, and we're going to have the radios, so we're not going to race, or you're going to bring back the radios.